welcome back to Sportshire. I'm your host, Griff McClellan, and today I'm joined by guests Blake Allen, Luke Krueger, and Zach Wildman. In today's episode, we will dive into the college football playoff, along with some other bowl games as well. First, let's look at the top 4 teams that made it into the playoff. Let's start by talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide. Luke, would you like to start?
I think when you start talking about college football in the playoff, people assume it's a foregone conclusion that Alabama's going to win, and I'm kind of one of those people. Mm-hmm. People say this is probably Nick Saban's best team, and what's crazy about it is it's because he has a quarterback. And so Tua Tagovailoa is killing it, has been killing it all year. But what's been interesting is how Saban managed to keep Jalen Hurts on the team by basically doing the 2-quarterback system for about 2 or 3 games, and then finally went to Tua, and it saved him in their final game, and that he was able to have Jalen there to rally them.
Yeah.
I mean, he's loaded. Every year he's loaded.
Exactly. It's amazing. Last year, Tua Tagovailoa replaced Jalen Hurts in the national title game and led them to victory. This year, in the SEC title game against the same team, Alabama rallied and found a way to break Georgia's heart again. And this time, Jalen Hurts rallied his team when they needed it most. Mm-hmm. What would you say about Alabama? What are your thoughts on them?
I think they're a really good team. They got like a good offense, good defense, great coaching. They're able to rally each other up.
They're well-rounded.
Yes.
Exactly.
I mean, I think they're just dominant in all aspects. They dominate college football, basically, and they have been for the past 5 years.
Yeah, their dynasty has been going on a while now. There's a reason they're number 1. I think they've been number 1 all season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep. They're undefeated.
Exactly.
Number 1 seed.
The thing that Saban has, you see in his teams, unlike just about any other college team, is he has pro-ready players. Mm-hmm. And they have that mentality. And they can get down, they can be behind, they don't hang their heads, they don't quit, they keep going. There are some great teams that you have players, they're still college students, they're still kids in some ways.
Exactly.
And they take a couple hits to the mouth, and all of a sudden, they're down 36-17 or something to that effect. You won't see that with the Saban team.
Exactly, no. And the next team in the playoff, following up at number 2, is the Clemson Tigers. This is their 4th straight playoff appearance. They've met Alabama in each of the past 3 playoffs, twice in the national title game, last year in the Sugar Bowl.
It's a rivalry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clemson and Alabama could potentially meet again. They're both favored. What do you think? What do you think of their chances in the postseason this year?
I think their chances of making it are real good.
Spot on. Yes. They have Notre Dame, who's also undefeated, just like Clemson. Uh-huh.
They may be undefeated, but there's some specialty to Clemson, and they're gonna show it.
The thing they have is experience. The thing that Notre Dame lacks.
Mm-hmm. And a tougher schedule, I'd say. But just focusing on Clemson, the thing with Clemson and Alabama playing each other repeatedly, there's talk, people say I'm getting tired of it. I don't want to see the same old thing. It's just, get somebody else in there.
Yeah.
I like it. I like seeing it each and every year. And the result is not the same every year. I mean, Dabo Swinney brings in a great team every year. He seems to understand how to figure out Nick Saban from time to time. And so when you see this, you're starting to get a really, and people talk about this with parity and dominance of various teams. We don't have rivalries or sustained rivalries anymore that are balanced. Here's a sustained rivalry at a national level that's balanced each and every year.
Staring each other right in the eyes, staying tough. They're going to come at each other hard and strong. I bet you that.
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, I think they're a solid team. It's just they don't have the experience, like you guys said.
Yeah.
And I think that Clemson's just a much better team and will destroy them in the postseason. There's no other way to say it. I mean,
I think Dabo Swinney and Brian Kelly are both great coaches, but overall, like we said, Clemson's experience, and that's going to give them a huge advantage over Notre Dame, who's going to be rusty, seeing as they are independent and didn't have to play a conference title game.
Right, and that's kind of another knock on them getting into this. They didn't get tested in a conference game like these other teams did.
Exactly.
I would say one thing, though. Clemson, in their conference title game, played Pitt, and they beat Pitt 42-10. Notre Dame played Pitt and beat them 19-14.
There's a huge difference there.
So,
exactly.
and again, they're college players.
Yeah.
They have different abilities. Their play can be up and down. But still, Pitt was not exactly a barn burner this year, and Notre Dame had struggles with them.
Yeah.
I think also the two quarterbacks, Books and Lawrence, they both don't have a lot of experience, but I think
the newcomers.
Clemson has more experience on the team where they can, the team overall can carry them to victory.
Clemson's defense will carry them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're a good defensive team. That's their key.
Yeah, it's a cliche, but defense does win championships.
Yes. It may be tacky, but it's true.
Exactly. All right, and the last team that made it to the playoff as the 4 seed, this team has a lot of hype. The Oklahoma Sooners, led by Heisman-winning quarterback Kyler Murray. It's actually the second straight year they've had a quarterback from OU win
The Heisman Trophy.
Heisman, with Baker Mayfield winning last year.
Yep.
What do you guys think? Is OU a threat to Alabama in the Orange Bowl?
Offensively, yes, they could
First in the league.
be. Yes.
Number 1 offense.
Number 1 offense of them all. That could be a threat. It's going to be a real clash of titans because you got their offense, which is really good because it's number 1. But then you got Alabama. The defense
Alabama.
is
OU's defense isn't even ranked.
Yeah.
And Alabama is top 10 in both defense and offense.
Yeah.
yes.
And Oklahoma, I think they came in 108th in defense this year. And and let's not forget they're playing in the Big 12. SEC and Big 12 is entirely different competition.
Yeah.
But there's all this argument, should Oklahoma have made it in? And I think at the end of the day, they should have. Saying that as an Ohio State fan, I think Oklahoma made the case. They had the record. They played well when they needed to. They have a high-flying offense that's going to be entertaining. At the end of the day, I'm certain that the committee makes decisions on what's going to be an entertaining game.
Oklahoma's
going
also
to
the business side.
Yeah.
I think the offense will put up a fight with their mobile style. I think it's very good and effective, but their defense just won't stand any chance to Alabama. I don't see it.
Yeah.
It's going to crumble.
Yeah, and again, going back to Murray and his build, he gets some of those big Alabama defensive line coming through and crushing him. I don't know how long he's going to stay in the game. That's a risk.
I agree with you. I think that the committee did make the right choice to put OU in at the 4 spot. The 2 teams that barely missed out were Georgia and Ohio State. Georgia made their case, but the thing is, they had 2 losses, one by 20 to LSU, and the other was a heartbreaking loss to Alabama, as we mentioned earlier.
Yep.
I don't think they should have gotten in. I think OU was clearly better, better wins. And Ohio State, another great year, and also they crushed Michigan in the last week, 62-39, which is on paper impressive. However, it was also their 14th win over Michigan in the last 15 seasons.
They own
so if you look at it, they own them.
Yeah. They just didn't get their business done with Purdue. Sorry, I'm from Ohio, so we call Purdue Purdue. It's a beautiful campus. But they lost to a team that they should have beaten. And
Ohio State, that's the difference. 49-20 was their loss compared to Oklahoma only losing by 3 to Texas earlier, whom they got their redemption on
exactly
2 weeks ago. That was the difference.
I think an interesting question, though, Griff, is if Georgia played Oklahoma,
like last year's Rose Bowl.
10 times out of 10, who's going to win that game?
That's a good question. I think the Georgia Bulldogs have the better defense, obviously, and it showed last year. It was a high-scoring game. OU had a better offense with Baker Mayfield, except at the end of the day, Georgia's defense came up clutch, blocked a field goal, took it to the house, and won.
And they did it with a running game, too.
Exactly.
Which is, coming back from that big of a deficit.
Sony Michel and Nick Chubb put
Yep.
up incredible numbers.
Yeah.
I think 10 games, it'd be about even, but it'd probably go to Georgia 6 times, I think, with defense.
And I think that's where the debate always comes in, is should Oklahoma have gotten in knowing that Georgia is the better team? But doing the criteria that the committee sets up, Oklahoma deserved to be in.
Also, OU had 1 loss, Georgia had 2. That's
Exactly.
another factor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Record.
Yep.
It plays an effect.
Yep. And like you said, not a good loss against LSU.
Exactly, yeah.
Not a good win either for OU against Army. as they went into overtime.
28-21, is that correct? Something like that?
21-17.
It was something low scoring
Yeah.
like that in overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you always tend to discount those military schools because they run the option style offense.
Yeah.
And so you don't plan your defense for that. You practice it for a week, and you hope to God you can hold on. Notre Dame always got smoked by Navy because of that.
Uh-huh. All right, let's take a look at the Orange Bowl here with Alabama and Oklahoma. Who do you guys think is going to win that game? Who wants to start? Zach?
Well, I'm giving this bout its own kind of name. It's basically the battle of numbers. The reason is because Oklahoma is the #1 offense, so they're going to be able to score. No, Alabama might put up a good fight.
Without a doubt, yeah.
But Oklahoma, they're going to get touchdowns no matter what.
They're going to challenge Alabama. It could be Alabama's biggest challenge they face so far.
But there's also that defensive end. It's their Achilles heel. Basically, that defense won't stand up to Alabama's offense. I know it. So they're going to get touchdowns. So basically, it's going to come down whoever gets the most touchdowns.
Exactly. Luke?
I feel like it's not going to be as close as people think. I think it's going to be Alabama's going to win pretty handily. That, with the understanding that Tua comes back from the ankle injury, recovered. He had a minor procedure, which the old adage is, a minor procedure is minor only to the people who didn't have it done on them. So he still has to recover. He still has to make the rehab.
He's not going to be 100%.
Right, but
May not, no.
is a 90%, 80% Tua Tagovailoa going to do it? I think the offense is powerful, and I think the defense is just going to shut down Oklahoma. And again, when I look at numbers from the Big 12, Texas Tech puts up big numbers too in the Big 12.
Exactly.
You know, and you're playing Kansas, you're playing Kansas State. It's not the competition of the SEC. So I think it's going to be Alabama pretty handily.
All right, how about you, Blake?
I think that Alabama has an actually better offense than Oklahoma, even though
Really?
Oklahoma
I agree.
is
They may be #1, but Alabama's better coach, you think?
yes,
Perhaps?
and
Yeah.
better play calls, and I think that Alabama is actually gonna put up more points, and Oklahoma's gonna get shut down on offense.
Bold
I'm
statements.
with you, man.
Could be. That's
I'm
bold.
with you. Yep.
I think it'll be a high-scoring battle, like Zach said. Kyler Murray, the Heisman winner, as we said earlier, will keep his team competitive. Obviously, Alabama, they're #1 for a reason. Their dynasty is very much still intact. They'll put up a great fight. However, I'm picking the upset here just for fun. I'm going with OU.
There you go.
Got to be bold again. And I think OU will put up a fight, and the final score will be 41-35 OU.
That is very bold.
One
very strict.
One other thing to throw in there, though, is a lot of times Heisman Trophy winners coming into their bowl game end up having a significant letdown. Baker didn't. Well, he did second half last year, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
OU
The
is a
Heisman
team.
curse.
the Heisman
Letdown,
curse.
yeah.
Yep.
All right, and how about the Cotton Bowl, Clemson, Notre Dame? I know we talked about it earlier, but let's just say who we think is going to win. Zach, Clemson, I think?
Oh, yeah, Clemson. Clemson's going to win.
All right.
Through sheer statistics, there is a massive difference between the two. I say it's going to be a one-sided beatdown for
All right.
Notre Dame.
I just go back to the last time Notre Dame was in the national spotlight playing Alabama for the national
42-14
championship.
loss.
And they
Exactly.
just got pantsed by Alabama. I mean, it was a bad game. And that was Brian Kelly. He didn't have his team ready to play. Maybe he learned from it, but
That was also 5 years ago.
it was. So it's different
Long
players,
time.
I get it, but I'm so leery of trusting Notre Dame. So I think Clemson's going to do this one pretty handily, and they're going to meet Alabama for the championship, and we're going to have a real game then.
All right.
I think that Notre Dame is gonna play like some losers.
All right, so you think Clemson's going to crush Notre Dame?
Yes. I just think because Notre Dame hasn't really proved anything. I mean,
They haven't had the tough schedule, perhaps.
They
Yeah.
did beat Michigan.
well,
They
they
did.
beat
That's
Michigan.
fair.
Feet.
Yeah.
Also, was that a home game against Michigan?
That was a home game. Yeah.
Yeah. I really don't think that they can do anything away or at a neutral stadium.
I agree with all of you. I think Clemson's by far the better team. I know none of us are showing love for Notre Dame, but
No mercy.
I think the final score will be 37-24 in favor of the Clemson Tigers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I can see that. I think Clemson's defense might keep it down a little bit, and maybe keep them under 20.
Keep them under control.
All right. So most of you have Clemson, Alabama in the championship. I have Clemson, OU.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen that matchup before. OU's been crushed by them multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be an interesting game. But who do you guys think is Alabama a better team? Would they win?
In my case, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah. It'd be the third win over Clemson in the last 4 playoff appearances.
Yeah. It's going to be like probably all their other games, thrilling, going at each other. But since they've won like 3 times in a row, it's probably going to be a repeat
Yeah.
of just all those fights.
Yeah, I think with Clemson, Alabama, what I mean by seeing a real game, Dabo seems to have figured out Nick Saban at some point. And so you're going to see 2 coaches, and Saban's figured out Dabo. It's going to be a great tactical game between the 2 of them, and it's going to be fun to see. For an OU-Clemson game, again, I would just say OU's overmatched. Clemson's defense is not spoken of as much as it should be.
Yeah, Clemson's
They're
defense
strong.
is-
Well, like I said, I think it's going to be Alabama-Clemson. And I think, like Luke said, I think they'll be ready. And I think they'll switch it up a little, both teams, from what they normally play in
To
normal
get the W.
season, to try to confuse the other team. And I think if you watch that game, you'll see a lot of different plays than their normal.
All right. In Clemson, OU, I'm just going to pick OU. I think Kyler Murray's had a fantastic season. Call me crazy, but if this happens, that'd be an incredible story, I think.
It would.
Yeah.
OU's
It would
been-
be one underdog story. It would be like in a movie.
Exactly. OU's had 2 playoff appearances before. They've come up short both times. Third time might be the charm. So who knows? But it'll be one great playoff, I think, for that.
It's different
Nice.
coach, Lincoln Riley, and it seems like he's energized that team. So, and he's being talked about for the NFL now.
Exactly.
So, I always tend to look at coaches over players in college football. He seems to have done a great job with the team this year, and they seem to have a different swagger.
Yeah.
So you never know. He might pull it off.
For a good team, you need good players, but you also need a good coaching staff. Because if you don't got that, then what are you going to do on the field?
Exactly.
Exactly what your
Coaching
play.
is vital in
Yeah.
these big spotlight games. All right. Let's switch gears a little bit now. Let's talk about a recent hot topic, and that is, should the playoff expand to 8 teams? What do y'all think about this? Luke?
I'm totally against it. But I'm one of those guys when they started talking about college playoffs and even the BCS championship and they picked the 2 teams. I was against that. I love the chaos of the rankings and the imperfect nature of it that allowed us to just argue relentlessly about this team got cheated, this team got cheated, this team is overrated, they shouldn't be there. That created discussion. The BCS championship, you still had that. As we've gotten to the 4 teams now, we still have it, but it's less animated. When we move to 6 teams, they're going to say expand to 8. When they say expand to 8, they're going to say expand to 12. The NCAA tournament was originally 32 teams, then it moved to 64, now it's 68. At some point, you need to say some
It's enough.
decisions have to be made, and teams don't get in. And I think 4 is good where it is now. I personally would go back to just picking from the polls.
Yeah.
Really, I think, in my opinion, the playoff is an upgrade from the BCS. It gives more teams life.
Yeah.
It really determines who is the best. However, sometimes teams get left out that maybe don't get the respect they deserve. For instance, UCF. So if the playoff expanded to 8 teams, I think that would actually be better for the league because it would give more teams a chance, and that would really determine who is the best.
But with UCF, they've lost their quarterback, so I mean, would they
did.
be all that?
They're still undefeated though for
Interesting.
the last 2 seasons.
That's true, but I used to teach at NIU, and that was when they had Lynch, their Heisman Trophy quarterback, and they went undefeated, and they went to the Orange Bowl, and they just got crushed, just got destroyed. It was clear that they just didn't belong in with the big boys. they're not recruiting the top. It's nice. It's a nice underdog story for them, but I think at the end of the day, it's just going to be pretty uninteresting football, like the NIU at the Orange Bowl.
I mean, UCF beat Auburn last year in the Peach Bowl. I feel in that sense they deserve a shot to prove they belong with, for instance, Alabama, Clemson, teams like that. So I feel like if the playoff expanded to 8 teams, they would definitely be given their shot, and they could make some noise.
Yeah, I see the pros and the cons of this. You have the pros, which is like what all of you guys have been saying, like UCF could, like these teams could have hope of getting something. But then there's a con, like if you invite too much teams, then where's the competition? Like if you know you can just get in, where's that hunger? Where's that drive to climb up the mountain?
I think inherently it is stacked against top 5 conferences. So, and that's not necessarily fair, but I think by the same token, you're not going to get as good a talent playing against those big schools.
But I think, like Griff said, a lot of the teams don't get as much opportunity like UCF, and I think it should at least expand it because you don't really know by the polls who's a better team, and I think if they played, then it'd really show it and actually prove it.
Exactly.
Making it a better championship. Yeah,
Exactly.
because then you'll have top 8 teams, and you'll see actually who are the best.
Yeah, the 2 teams in the championship game have proven that they belong there, and they've beaten some great teams along the way. So
Yeah.
I think an 8-team expansion would be good for the league.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you agree with that?
yeah, I
18?
could kind of agree with it. I could see some value in it.
That's the key word is value. It's going to make a lot of money for the NCAA. Expand it out to 8 games. The tricky part though is logistics. When are they going to play these games? These are supposedly student athletes, and I kind of laugh at that term.
Yeah.
But when are they going to play? Yes, they have a month and a half between the playoffs, and they can play some games in between then. But then they're going to get worn out. Injuries happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. But from a money making perspective, the NCAA would love it.
It'd only add one extra round of playoff football for the players.
Yeah.
The
Right.
8 teams, then the normal semifinal, then the championship. And for instance, maybe the first round could be played at the higher seeded home field,
Oh, yeah.
and then move to the selected New Year's 6 bowls.
And then just
or buys and play-ins by the lower seeds.
Like that,
Yeah. 'Cause
and it just goes on, and the proof happens.
I'd still watch it and love it if they expanded
Exactly,
it. I just
yeah.
don't want to see it happen, but I'll still
It's
dig
football.
it. Yeah.
So you love the controversy between who is overrated, who shouldn't be there. You should put this team over this. They have 2 losses, 1 loss. All these factors get
Yep.
into the whole debate.
I love nuance. I
Controversy.
love nuance, and I love having to see gray, and that's what you need for discussions like this.
Yeah.
It's just not black and white, and I enjoy that. And the more muddied we can make it, I think the discussion gets
Yeah.
more fun.
Controversy gives games heat.
Exactly.
I'm also sort of biased to the 8-team playoff because Penn State, I'm a big Penn State fan. Penn State the last 2 years, not this year, but the past 2 years, have been in the top 8. So I think we would have gotten a chance maybe to play a bigger team that we don't normally get to play. Like,
Alabama.
yeah,
And all those
Alabama,
other guys.
Clemson, Notre Dame. And I would have enjoyed to see that, but yeah,
They're in the Citrus Bowl this year.
against Kentucky, yeah.
I think they'll win that game.
I think they will too. Because, I don't know, Kentucky's just, I don't think, very good competition.
They had a great year, but overall they're not a storied, perhaps, or they're not historically a great college football program.
They're kind of not in a like sort of like the UCF of the SEC. Like
All right.
they haven't gotten that many good recruits, but they're somehow having a storybook year.
They turned it around from last year incredibly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they're a good team. I picked
Yeah.
Kentucky.
Yeah,
and
they're making a good story.
All right. Well, what do you guys say? Are you excited for the playoff?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
For
pumped up.
sure.
Yep.
All right, I am too.
Yeah. Even though Ohio State's not in it.
Where's the
still,
popcorn?
And
Where's
they
the
shouldn't
soda?
be. They shouldn't be. Yeah.
I think they'll win the Rose Bowl for sure, with it
Yeah.
being Urban Meyer's last game too.
It's gonna rally up the troops. And Washington was kind of a bit of a disappointment this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had some not
Ups
a great
and downs,
season. Yeah,
but-
Lost to Oregon.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Anyways, that wraps up for today.
Great.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for watching Sportshire. We'll see you next time.